Hi everyone, I'm doing my John Maxwell, and this is the first book I read, Leadership Gold. So with John Maxwell, I am going to do it for the public because I'm trying to build a business on the side and hopefully help companies if I can't get a good paying job. Many people are looking for second incomes, and so people in Canada open their own businesses. Unlike when I came to Canada, a lot of companies now are not asking for Canadian experience. When I came to Canada, you had to have Canadian experience and you had to find a way to get that, whether you took on volunteering like I did, sitting on boards in hospitals with HRPA. I did a lot of volunteering to get the Canadian experience. And the reason that they asked for that was because there are cultural differences. So Americans tend to be more direct. Canadians can be direct, but they tend to be more indirect. Americans and Canadians have different cultures. The Canadian culture is a village culture. So people do things together, they come up together, and they plan things for the community. The American way is about the individual. It's the spirit of adventure, it's the spirit of the new frontier, it's the spirit of breaking away from the crown and breaking away from that servitude, that life of servitude where we are serving the queen. And so for us that came from Zimbabwe, we would probably be more aligned to the American spirit of adventure, spirit of freedom, spirit of the individual. And because the old way was about serving the queen, and we are the plebs, we are the nobodies. And under American culture, we are all valued. You could be an actor, you could be a cleaner, you could be a nobody and rise up to a position of power. A position where you earn well, where you do well, where you work and you get the money, you earn your rewards. Canada is still under the servitude system. It's still under the village culture. And I think if you remember those differences, if you want to do well in Canada, remember your place. Remember your place in society and you can do well. With me, I probably haven't done well because I don't remember my place. I challenge them, I change things, I'm like an alchemist. I'll go in and I'll change things. And things will get better for everyone, but unfortunately, they don't get better for me right away. So if you look at the news today, there's a lot of news about the government has scrapped this Canadian requirement. So there's pros and cons to it, because if you don't understand the nuances of the culture, you're likely to get hurt along the way. If you get into volunteering, if you do things that will help you to understand the Canadian culture, you most likely will not get hurt. All the people I've mentored, all the people I've helped are sitting in director positions, senior management positions, and I'm known. People know me. In banking, in healthcare, wherever, they know who I am because I'm the one that changed things. Whether they like it or not, I help to make things better. So this chapter that I'm talking about is keep your mind on the main thing. And Jesus' teachings were about survival under the Roman law. As long as the Romans were in power, people had to remember their place. So as long as we remember that we are slaves, that we are just there to serve, that we are just there to be of service, and people are there to be serving us, or, like when they send their letters in Canada, we look forward to servicing you in the future. It doesn't sound right unless you understand the culture. So you have to keep the main thing in mind. Now in America, you keep the main thing in mind. Yes, you're still serving them and you're still there to provide a service, but to them, their money is the most important thing. If you remember that, you'll do well with the Americans. So understand your cultures and understand what the most important thing is, right? And when I was in England, I didn't find that. Like I went into the agencies, I registered with them, and I got my jobs. After I'd been there for about a year, it was getting harder to get work. So one of my friends had a friend who had an employment agency, and through her I got my position at Bovis Lend-Lease. So again, it's about who you know and who's going to open those doors for you. And when you come to a new country, you have to realize that you don't know everything. I didn't know anything. When I came here, I found it hard because you're taking out the garbage, you're cleaning the toilets, you're painting their pots, and they keep saying, oh, you don't have Canadian experience to work in the corporate world, or to work with the government leaders, or to work with people on boards, and you have to get the Canadian experience. But how do you get it if no one's going to give you the opportunity? So you take on volunteering. You join organizations like TRIAC, like HRPA. You go to your church. You get to know the pastor there. You start taking a few courses. There are many community colleges here. And U of T also has courses that you can take for adult learners. So for me, I went into Rotman because I had the executive experience from overseas. And I used that to leverage getting into Rotman, to the business school, to take my HR courses. And then you have to also be willing to let somebody else represent you, whether it's your managers, your mentors, people who have been there before you. They know the ropes, they understand the Canadian culture, and they can guide you. And you have to have mentors who are willing to tell you, this is the way to go, or this is what you should do. This is how you can try it. So unfortunately for me, I didn't have that. I don't have mentors. It's as simple as that. My mentors now I have with John Maxwell. So they are more for the American side. But in Canada, I don't have mentors. And the family in America don't know people here who are successful, who can help to open doors for me, who can mentor me, who can tell me, okay, this is what you need to do to get into a management position in banking, or to get into a management position in business services, or to get back into an executive assistant position. What I do is I register with agencies, and then those agencies help to find me my positions, because they are the ones who have the relationships, they have the network, they have the knowledge of where the openings are. And that's how I got all my jobs in Canada, except for this one, which is an entry-level role. And I went to job fairs, I lined up, I handed out my resumes. So obviously in a startup, they need people. That's why they took me. So it depends on how you want to do it. I help people to get into BMO, to get into TD, to get into RBC. And I was hoping those people would reach back, but unfortunately that has not happened. So it's like with the 10 lepers. The 10 lepers, Jesus healed 10 of them, and one went back to say thank you to him. My experience is like that. I've helped a lot of people, but only one has come back when I am facing financial challenges to say, here, this is for you, because you helped me, and the knowledge you've given me cannot be bought. It cannot be exchanged or paid for. You've helped me to heal. You've helped me to get into a good paying position. You've helped me to understand the Canadian culture. So again, John Maxwell takes biblical concepts and he puts them into ordinary terms, into leadership terms. And you have to take note of your strengths and what's working for you. It's very hard when you come to a new country and your resources are depleted. Emotionally, it's hard. You have to get used to new systems, new people, new weather, and it depends how much you liked where you came from. I loved England, so for me, it was difficult. I used to shake like a leaf with the snow and with the cold. It used to go right through me. I had to wear 2 or 3 layers of clothing, and I had to make sure I was warm. And even now, I get sick easily. I have to make sure I dress up warm. And then you have to take control of what you're paying attention to and your time. So when I was job hunting, all I was doing was sending out resumes, making calls, following up on my resumes, asking people if they knew anyone. And, you know, it became like a living nightmare, because I'd have work for 3 months and then I'd have 9 months of unemployment. I'd have work for 6 months, then I'd have another 6 or 7 months of unemployment. So how can you live like that? You can't. And every time they took me on, they would say, oh no, there's a possibility of extension. There's a possibility that we'll give you a 2-year contract. BMO even told me, oh no, we're extending your contract. We've got a 2-year contract. When you go home today, the agency is going to call you and we're going to give you that 2-year contract. I went home and they called me to say they changed their plans. So it's very hard when you're dealing with that type of a culture where they're hiring just in time, they just want bums on seats, and then they let you go when they don't need you anymore. Because they have no relationship with you. They have no connection with you. They don't know you. So it doesn't matter to them if they let you go and then they bring in the next person. Because to them, you're just another resource. So again, if you remember you're a slave, and if you remember that you're here to be of service, you have to adjust to that, then it makes it easier. Because we are literally slaves in today's culture. We are literally slaves with the Great Reset and the way things are being played out on the world stage. And now things are changing. So we have to be aware of that. This whole nonsense of you will rent and you will be happy, you will own nothing and you will be happy. I don't believe in that. And there's a lot of people that don't believe in that. In Australia, in England, that's why people are pushing back. Even in Canada, we've got a surplus of labor now because they keep bringing people in. They keep saying there's a shortage of knowledge workers, there's a shortage of executive assistants, there's a shortage of senior HR leaders. We need more people. And then people come here and they expect to go straight into management roles and they don't. So they go back, they go to Dubai or they go to India or they go back to wherever they came from. And a lot of students from India are now choosing to go to China. So that's up to them. There's pros and cons. I mean, there's too many scandals here about how the workers are cheating on the exams at EY, at PwC. And then you get people like me who have worked damn hard and we can't get the breaks. We can't get the opportunities. We can't get the good paying jobs. So it's very, very difficult for me to understand how the senior executives in the banks, in the PwCs, in the EYs, how they can support this and how the institutions can accept so many foreign students from India and all these places when they know they forged their documents, they forged their credentials. I even worked with somebody at Future Shop. When she graduated, she posted, she got somebody to write all her papers, to do all the work, and then she graduated. So it boggles the mind how people have no sense of ethics anymore and how they don't take pride in themselves. To them, it doesn't matter as long as they can say, oh, this is the certificate I got and somebody else wrote my papers. And then you get people like me who are honest, who are hardworking, who do the right things, and we still, in minimum wage, we still can't get the breaks. We still can't get into good paying jobs. It boggles the mind. And now the Saudis are coming up. They're implementing all these One World conferences for labor, on the environment, and all these things. And the Human Rights Commission is watching. So, I mean, it boggles my mind, because if you say this is wrong, then they say you are delusional. Where's the evidence? You have the head of an oil and gas company leading COP28. I mean, it boggles the mind, to be honest with you. But obviously I'm stupid, like I said, I'm a slave. You know, I believe in simple concepts. I believe in simple concepts of honesty, of being loving, of being compassionate. I believe in simple concepts of showing compassion, of taking care of our elders. So it's stupidity to the people that only value money. That's why today they are going to put those Italians in jail for buying property in London and for the analysts they hired, because obviously they are financiers. They obviously should have known what they're doing. They're not theologians. They are accountants and they are financiers, and they should go to jail for 5 years. And the people who are doing the gold mafia, who are sitting and boasting on Al Jazeera that, yeah, we've got a deal, don't worry, taking suitcases of money and filming it and boasting about it, they are obviously good people. And the Arabs are obviously good people in today's culture, because none of them are going to jail. So, I mean, this is the reality today. So, what I'm telling you about these books and things, you have to decide what kind of world you want. I made a choice, and I'm suffering for it. For being compassionate, for being good, for begging for time to pay my debts, my credit cards, for begging for my mortgage to be renewed by ING, and the bank said no, in Canada. So obviously the people in this world who are going to do well are the people who are laundering money, gold mafia, boasting about it. The money's like water. Put it in the suitcase and take it to Saudi Arabia. Marble floors. But you know what? I refuse to become a sex slave. I refuse to go into prostitution. So I struggle and struggle until hopefully I get a break. So that's me. But just remember, you're a slave. If you want to do the money laundering, you want to get people to write your papers and then post about it on Facebook and say, hey, I graduated, obviously you'll do well in this world. Because the people that are running things at the top are allowing it to happen. Christians have always been a small group of people that have changed the world from the time that Christ died. So you can either be with us or you can be against us. You can support the Saudis and putting oil barons in place to run conferences on COP28. It's a choice. It's as simple as that. I don't have money. 21 years in Canada, I don't have money, and I'm not in a good paying job. And the people that are doing well are the corrupt. It's as simple as that. I made a choice to stay a slave to God. Very simple. Choose.